ourselves in because today we're diving headfirst into a cinematic clusterfuck that's been giving us boners and triggering snowflakes for decades.
Oh, yeah.
Top Gun, baby.
Yes, the 1986 explosion of testosterone volleyball and homoeroticism
Oh, yeah.
that somehow became a cultural touchstone.
You know?
It's a goddamn enigma wrapped in
yeah,
a flight suit.
You said it. Even if you've been living under a rock for the past 40 years, you've felt the ripple effects of this motherfucking movie.
Yeah.
But today, we're going past the cheesy one-liners and the Kenny Loggins-fueled adrenaline rushes to dissect what made Top Gun such a glorious mess.
Well, let's cut the crap and address the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
This film is a product of its time. The Reagan era, where America was all about flexing its military muscle and waving the Star-Spangled Banner.
Right.
Top Gun taps right into that patriotic fervor, for better or worse.
So you're saying it's basically one giant recruitment ad disguised as an action flick?
Not entirely, though. The Navy's involvement in the film was pretty damn deep. They had a lot of say in the script, pushing for a more patriotic narrative.
Okay.
They even nixed a scene involving a crash on the deck of an aircraft carrier, probably too close to reality considering what happened during filming.
Wait, what the hell happened during filming? Don't leave us hanging.
Yes. Sadly, the pilot of the Pitt special used for some of the aerial stunts art school died during filming. He was attempting a complex maneuver, and well, let's just say it didn't end well. The film is dedicated to him, but it's a dark reminder of the risks involved in capturing those insane flight sequences.
Fuck, that's heavy. Talk about dedication to your craft, though.
Ah.
But let's back up a bit. For those who haven't seen this cinematic masterpiece, what the hell is Top Gun even about? Give us a lowdown.
All right, let's break it down. It follows the story of Lieutenant Pete Maverick Mitchell,
Okay.
a hotshot pilot with a need for speed and a blatant disregard for authority.
Sounds familiar.
He and his RIO, that's Radar Intercept Officer, the guy in the back seat, Nick Goose Bradshaw, get sent to the Navy's Fighter Weapons School, a.k.a. Top Gun.
So it's basically a school for badass flyboys who think they're invincible.
Pretty much. The film focuses on Maverick's rivalry with Tom Iceman Kazansky, another talented but far more disciplined pilot.
I see.
Throw in a tragic accident, spoiler alert. Goose bites the dust. A steamy romance with an astrophysicist and some seriously intense aerial combat training, and you've got yourself a blockbuster.
Hold up. Goose dies. That's some fucked up shit. How the hell did that happen?
Maverick's recklessness, of course. During a training exercise, their F-14 goes into a flat spin. They both eject, but Goose hits the canopy on the way out.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
Damn, that's dark. Talk about a buzzkill. But hey, at least Maverick gets the girl, right?
Oh, he does. Charlie, the astrophysicist, is initially skeptical of Maverick's impulsive nature, but eventually succumbs to his charms and piloting skills. Classic Hollywood trope, bad boy gets the girl.
Well, who could resist a dude in a flight suit? But let's be real. Those flight scenes were fucking insane. Did they actually film that shit for real?
They did. That's part of what made Top Gun so groundbreaking. They mounted cameras on F-14's Learjets, even that ill-fated Pitt special.
Oh, wow.
The result was some of the most realistic and visceral aerial footage ever captured on film. It was revolutionary for its time and still holds up pretty well today.
Damn, those pilots were basically stuntmen with wings.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the music for a second. That soundtrack is pure 80s gold.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a time capsule of synthesizers, power ballads, and cheesy rock anthems.
The soundtrack is iconic, no doubt about it. From the adrenaline-pumping Danger Zone to the heart-wrenching Take My Breath Away, it perfectly captured the film's energy and emotion. And let's not forget Harold Faltermeyer's score, that synth-heavy epic sound was pure 80s magic.
It's the kind of music that makes you want to crank it up, roll down the windows, and pretend you're cruising down the highway in a convertible with your aviator sunglasses on.
It definitely tapped into that sense of escapism and wish fulfillment. Top Gun offered a fantasy world where you could be a hotshot pilot, woo beautiful women, and listen to kick-ass music while doing it.
But was all this flash and bravado enough to win over the critics? Did everyone buy into the Top Gun hype?
Not exactly. Critics were a mixed bag.
Really?
Some praised the action and visuals, calling it a technical triumph and a visual feast.
Yeah.
But others slammed the cheesy dialogue, the predictable plot, and the unapologetically pro-military stance.
What?
Some even went as far as calling it jingoistic and irresponsible.
Sounds like someone's panties were in a bunch. But hey, let's be honest. The homoerotic undertones are pretty hard to ignore.
Yeah.
All that shirtless volleyball, the intense stares between Maverick and Iceman. You can't tell me they weren't at least a little bit curious.
Yes. The homoerotic subtext of Top Gun. It's been a topic of debate for decades. Was it intentional? Accidental? A product of the hypermasculine military culture? Whatever the case, it added another layer of complexity to the film and sparked countless discussions and interpretations.
It's like they were saying, hey, these dudes are badass pilots, but maybe they're also a little bit, into each other.
Yeah.
But let's get down to brass tacks. Did the audience give a shit about any of this? Did they eat this shit up?
Oh, they absolutely devoured it.
They did?
Top Gun was the highest-grossing film of 1986, raking in over $350 million worldwide.
Wow.
It was a box office phenomenon capturing the imaginations of audiences everywhere.
So it was a cash cow, a cultural touchstone, and maybe even a little bit gay. Not bad for a film about fighter jets. But did it actually work as a recruitment tool for the Navy? Did all those shirtless volleyball scenes actually convince people to enlist?
That's where things get interesting. The Navy claims there was a 500% increase in recruits after the film's release, but those numbers have been disputed.
Classic government bullshit, inflating the numbers to make themselves look good.
However, there's no denying that Top Gun had a significant impact on the public perception of the Navy.
Right.
It made being a fighter pilot look cool as hell, and it certainly sparked an interest in naval aviation among young people.
Well, I guess there's something inherently badass about flying a supersonic jet and blowing shit up. But I gotta ask, is the real Top Gun, the actual Navy fighter weapons school, anything like what we see on screen? Is it all intense rivalries, shirtless beach volleyball, and defying orders?
The real Top Gun is far less glamorous and far more intense than what Hollywood portrays.
Okay.
It's a grueling training program for the elite of the elite, with a heavy focus on discipline, teamwork, and strategic thinking.
So it's less about looking cool and more about actually being a skilled, disciplined pilot who can handle their shit in a real-life combat situation?
Exactly. The instructors are the best of the best, pushing their students to the limit, both physically and mentally. There's no room for Maverick-style recklessness or ego trips in the real Top Gun.
Damn, so the real Top Gun is less beach volleyball and more boot camp. Sounds intense.
It is, but that's the reality of being a fighter pilot. It's a high-stakes job that requires unwavering focus, precision, and the ability to make split-second decisions under immense pressure.
Well, there you have it, folks. Top Gun, a film that's as much a fantasy as it is a reflection of American culture. A blend of adrenaline-fueled action, homoerotic tension, and patriotic fervor. It's a film that continues to spark debate, inspire nostalgia, and remind us that sometimes the truth is a lot less glamorous than the myth. But hey, who doesn't love a good myth now and then?
Especially one that involves fighter jets, explosions, and Kenny Loggins.
Right. Now let's take a closer look at some of the behind-the-scenes shenanigans and controversies that went into making this cinematic masterpiece. Stay tuned, you glorious bastards.
All right, let's dive deeper into the shitstorm of controversy and behind-the-scenes drama that surrounded Top Gun. Where do you want to start?
Let's talk about the Navy's involvement.
Yeah.
You mentioned they had a heavy hand in shaping the narrative. What kind of bullshit did they try to pull?
Well, for starters, they pushed for a more patriotic and sanitized version of the story.
Okay.
They didn't want the film to show the Navy in a negative light, even though the original script had some grittier and more realistic elements.
Typical government asshats trying to control the narrative.
Yeah.
What else did they try to change?
They insisted on moving the opening dogfight from Cuban airspace to international waters. Apparently, they didn't want to piss off Fidel Castro or start an international incident.
Pussies. I bet they also tried to water down all the cussing and make Maverick a choir boy.
They did try to clean up the language, but the filmmakers managed to slip in a few dams and hells here and there.
Okay.
As for Maverick, they couldn't completely neuter his rebellious spirit, but they definitely toned down some of his more reckless antics.
Speaking of reckless antics, what about that scene where Maverick buzzes the tower? You'd think the Navy would have shit a brick over that.
Oh, they weren't happy about it. In the film, Maverick gets reprimanded for his stunt, but in real life, some Navy brass were furious.
Really?
They felt it portrayed their pilots as reckless cowboys with a death wish.
But it looked fucking awesome, right? That's what we came to see.
It did make for a memorable scene. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But it highlights the constant tug of war between Hollywood's desire for spectacle and the military's need to maintain a certain image.
It's all about PR, baby. Got to keep those recruitment numbers up. Speaking of which, let's talk about the film's impact on recruitment. Did all that fighter jet porn actually convince people to sign up?
As I mentioned earlier, the Navy's claim of a 500% increase in recruits is likely bullshit. But there's no denying that the film had a major influence on public perception.
Right.
It glamorized the whole fighter pilot experience, making it seem like a nonstop adrenaline rush with a side of beach volleyball.
It's like a recruitment ad for dudes with daddy issues and a need for speed.
And it worked to an extent. Many young people, particularly men, were drawn to the image of the cocky, rule-breaking maverick.
Yeah.
They wanted to be him flying high above the clouds, defying authority and getting the girl.
But let's not forget, the film also had a darker side. We talked about the homoerotic subtext, but what about its portrayal of women? It's basically a sausage fest with a few token female characters thrown in for good measure.
You're right. Charlie, the astrophysicist and Maverick's love interest, is smart and independent, but she's ultimately there to serve as the love interest and provide a bit of emotional depth to Maverick's character.
She's basically a walking, talking trophy for Maverick to win.
Pretty much. And let's not forget the scene where Maverick serenades Charlie in a bar with "You've lost that lovin' feelin'."
Oh, God.
It's supposed to be romantic, but it comes across as creepy and borderline stalkerish.
Yeah. Not exactly a shining example of healthy relationships. And what about those other female characters? The ones who aren't astrophysicists or love interests?
They're mostly relegated to background roles, serving as eye candy for the pilots or providing emotional support. There's the bar scene where the pilots are surrounded by adoring women, and the scene at the graduation ceremony where the wives and girlfriends are cheering on their men.
It's like women are just there to be looked at and admired, not to actually participate in the action.
Exactly. Top Gun reinforces traditional gender roles with men as the dominant heroic figures and women as the supportive secondary characters.
So while the film might have inspired some guys to join the Navy, it probably didn't do much to encourage women to break the glass ceiling in the military.
That's a fair assessment. And it's worth noting that the real Top Gun program didn't even allow women to fly combat missions until the 1990s.
Talk about behind the times. But hey, at least they eventually caught up. So we've got this film that's full of testosterone, homoeroticism, and questionable portrayals of women. Was there anything the critics actually liked about it?
Believe it or not, yes. Many critics, even those who acknowledged the film's flaws, praised the aerial sequences, the soundtrack, and the performances.
You mean they weren't blinded by all the shirtless volleyball and homoerotic tension?
Some were able to see past the surface and appreciate the craft that went into making the film. They recognized that the flight sequences were groundbreaking for their time. The soundtrack was a perfect blend of 80s cheese and adrenaline-pumping anthems, and the actors, particularly Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer, gave compelling performances.
So even with all the bullshit and controversy, Top Gun managed to win over some of the cynics. It's like a cinematic cockroach. It just won't die.
It's a testament to the film's enduring appeal, even with all its imperfections.
Yeah.
It taps into something primal, that desire for speed adventure and defying authority.
It's the ultimate fantasy for anyone who's ever dreamed of being a hotshot pilot, soaring through the clouds and blowing shit up. And let's be honest, who hasn't had that fantasy at some point?
I'll admit, even I fantasize about buzzing a control tower or two.
Well, there you have it, folks. Top Gun, a film that's as controversial as it is entertaining, as flawed as it is iconic. It's a product of its time, but it also transcends it, continuing to spark debate and inspire new generations of moviegoers.
And it's a reminder that even the most problematic films can have a lasting impact on our culture, for better or worse.
Now let's talk about those video games. All right, let's shift gears and talk about something that lets us live out those Top Gun fantasies without the risk of getting our asses shot down in real-life video games, baby.
Yes, the digital realm, where anyone can be Maverick, pulling off insane maneuvers and blowing shit up without any real-world consequences.
I bet those early Top Gun games were about as realistic as a goddamn Care Bear piloting an F-14.
Oh, yeah.
Pixelated graphics, clunky controls, the whole 9 yards.
The early ones were definitely products of their time. We're talking about games released on the Commodore 64, Atari, even those ancient NES cartridges.
Right.
The technology was limited, but they still managed to capture that basic thrill of aerial combat.
I remember playing one of those ancient games on my buddy's Atari. It's basically just moving a little triangle across the screen and shooting at other triangles.
Simple but effective.
Yeah.
And as gaming technology evolved, so did the Top Gun games. We saw the introduction of 3D graphics, more realistic flight physics, and even online multiplayer modes where you could dogfight against other players around the world.
Now you're talking.
Yeah.
Nothing like virtually blowing your buddy out of the sky to solidify a friendship. Any standouts in the Top Gun gaming universe? Any games that really nailed that feeling of being a hotshot pilot?
There were a few. Top Gun, Fire at Will, from the mid-90s, attempted a more story-driven approach.
Okay.
Top Gun, Combat Zones for the PlayStation 2, expanded the roster of aircraft.
I see.
And Top Gun, Hardlock, from 2012, focused on pure arcade-style action.
Sounds like there's a Top Gun game for every taste. But let's be real, none of them can truly replicate the intensity of actually being in a fighter jet.
Right.
No matter how good the graphics or the controls are, It's not the same as feeling that G-force pushing you into your seat.
You're absolutely right. Short of strapping yourself into a flight simulator, no video game can fully capture the physical and emotional experience of flying a supersonic jet. But they can offer a glimpse, a taste of that adrenaline rush.
A taste is better than nothing,
Yeah.
right? But now let's get back to reality for a second. We've talked about the film, the impact of the games. But what about the real Top Gun, the actual Navy fighter weapons school? Is it anything like what we see on screen?
The real Top Gun, officially known as the Navy Strike Fighter Tactics Instructor Program, is a far cry from the Hollywood version. It's a grueling, highly selective training program that pushes pilots to their absolute limits.
So no shirtless volleyball or homoerotic locker room scenes?
Not quite. It's
Yeah.
all about discipline, precision, and teamwork. The instructors are the best of the best, and they don't tolerate any Maverick-style recklessness or ego trips.
So basically, the real Top Gun is less about looking cool and more about actually being a skilled, disciplined badass who can handle their shit when the bullets start flying.
Exactly. It's about making split-second decisions under immense pressure, working seamlessly with your team and knowing your aircraft inside and out. There's no room for error when you're flying a multi-million-dollar piece of machinery at supersonic speeds.
Damn, that sounds intense. So in the end, Top Gun the movie is basically a highly romanticized version of what it really takes to be a fighter pilot.
It is. But that's the power of Hollywood, right? They take a complex and often dangerous reality and turn it into a thrilling, entertaining spectacle. And let's be honest, we all need a little bit of escapism now and then.
Well said, my friend. Well said. So there you have it, folks. Top Gun, a film that's given us boners, triggered snowflakes, and sparked countless debates about masculinity, homoeroticism, and the military-industrial complex. It's a flawed masterpiece, a product of its time, but also a film that continues to resonate with audiences decades later.
It's a reminder that even the most over-the-top, testosterone-fueled action flicks can have a lasting cultural impact. And hey, sometimes it's okay to just sit back, turn off your brain, and enjoy the ride.
Damn right. So the next time you hear that iconic Danger Zone riff, remember that Top Gun is more than just a movie. It's a cultural phenomenon, a reflection of our collective fantasies and anxieties, and a testament to the enduring power of a good story, even if it's full of explosions, shirtless volleyball, and homoerotic subtext.
And who knows, maybe it'll even inspire you to dust off that old flight simulator game and take to the virtual skies. Just try to avoid buzzing any virtual towers, all right?
That's it for this deep dive, you glorious bastards. Until next time, stay dangerous.